Alright my friends, Brian with VetteSource back today. What is today? Thursday afternoon, as one day bleeds into the next. Finally, got some time. Quit teasing you guys. We're going to do our top end job of our TPI here. If you'll remember, several months back I did that video regarding the teardown or description of our tune port injection for GM and the basics of the system. And today what I'm finally going to go ahead and do is we're going to take care of the top end job on our tune port injection for our Yellow Gold Formula 350 that I've had in the stable for a while. If you've been around watching my videos, you've seen when I acquired this car. This one's really just a neat car. So today I'm going to get into doing this real quick. I'm going to try to keep from running my mouth too long and get into what we need to do. The best way to start with a tune port, obviously, you may have even seen that follow-up video I did where I kind of did a bench teardown of a unit that was on a bench. But imagine this as a sub-assembly stacked vertically, right? I'm sorry, horizontally from back to front all the way over to here to this corner. Now again, the Firebird tune ports or the F-body tune ports are just a little bit different in their plumbing and some of the other things, but not very much than the Corvettes, but all of it is basically the same system. So today what I'm going to be focusing on, I've really got about 14 or 15 items I need to be taken off of here, and what I'm going to do is go through them all so you can see them. This, I'm going to remove our engine coolant reservoir just to get it out of the way so we got room. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of our EVAP canister. We're going to start over here in our corner with our air cleaner assembly, our primary intake duct, our mass airflow sensor, our duct straight to the throttle body, our throttle body assembly. We're going to take loose the center plenum, and we're going to go and take off this back cover here, the distributor cover. That'll cover that video for today. So today, essentially, we're getting rid of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 components today. 8 really, and 9 if I can get to this one or get this out of the way easily. So I'm going to go slow so you guys will see what I'm doing, and again I'm going to be working from front to back so you can see which direction I go on this. So let me get set up here real quick and I'll be right back once my tools are in place. Hang tight. Alright, I'm back with my stack up here. So again, we're going to be starting in this left front corner to get this thing apart. Now one thing that's interesting about this setup here is it really doesn't require a whole lot of special tools to get this thing apart. It's really fairly simple as far as tool requirement goes until we get a little bit deeper into the system. But for now, I'm just going to use my basic small flat tip screwdriver, and I may even just use my hands here. I've already got that one loose. So we're going to go ahead and get our intake air cover off here. I'm going to take that off. I should have one more back here if I can get my hand back there. And sometimes these clamps are broken, so let's see if I can get that off there. There we go. Come on. There we go. Well, oh, somebody already put a hole in this. Okay, so that one's off of there, as much as we can get it. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and take our screw out. Again, just a Phillips band clamp screw here. We're going to loosen up so we got pressure off of it, and then we're going to go ahead and break this loose from the other side of where our intake to our mass airflow is at. And I'm going to go ahead and loosen all these up right now. And I'm using hand tools, guys, just so I can move slowly so you can see what I'm doing. I do prefer my little electric tool set or my impacts, my air impacts, but that's usually when I'm just trying to get things done in a hurry. So pulling forward from here might be a little bit tough. Let's see if I can get this one-handed. There we go. There's our first piece off. So there's piece number 1 is out of the way. There's my parts bucket. And I can get to this a little bit easier this way now. There we go. There we go. There's our upper part of our air intake off. There is our intake housing, or filter, which is dirty. And here's our lower housing, which requires a 13 millimeter, which I forgot about since I don't mess with third gens as much as I do the Corvette. So what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and work on this first. I'll go back to that. So mass airflow on this, you can see, is actually attached to the radiator core support via this bracket, which is different than a Corvette. Corvette uses the straps, little clips right there to hold it in place against there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this out, and we'll learn together, because this is the first time I think I've ever taken one of these out of here before. So, okay. Oh yeah, and there we go. There's our bolts underneath there that hold that to that bracket. Now, interesting story, just an aside, when I bought this car, really nice young man, he was a mechanic for one of the airlines. I think he worked in the engine shop, and he had bought this car and decided he didn't have time for it, and that was when he had bought it, was when the it had the smoldering smoke caused by the smog pump locking up. I'm trying to get this off here without breaking it, guys. And the car would not, of course, turn over. The engine wouldn't turn over because the smog pump was locked up on it. So he and his buddy took the smog pump off. The smog pump, as you can see, is still missing. They put a longer bolt on it and then got it cranked. But when they put it back together again, they forgot to hook the mass airflow sensor back up. So the car had, when I first went to go look at it, it was flashing every code you can think of under the sun. It was just not cooperating at all. And of course I overlooked that because I knew what I was looking at, so I went ahead and grabbed it. Because again, this, you know, of course, car guys know that there's some things we love more than others, and other cars that just hit the spot. And for me, this one, I've always enjoyed F-bodies. This was a car that was popular when I was a kid in high school in the late 80s. But this yellow gold, I knew instinctively was a really rare cover. Okay, so there's our primary intake duct coming off there. We'll put that with our other pieces. And I need to get that 13 millimeter for this. So let me do this, guys. I'm gonna set up with my other tool that I didn't have out. And you can see here, I've got this where I need it to be. So after we take this out in this piece, we'll go ahead and start on that throttle body. We'll move over to our center plenum, and then of course our back distributor cover. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, moving on here, what I'm gonna go ahead and do now is I went ahead and loosened up that 13 millimeter. So at the very bottom of that air cleaner assembly, you're gonna see that 13 millimeter is in there installed to keep the assembly in place. And actually that attaches, we'll put that with our other air cleaner parts to be cleaned up. And now you can kind of see I've got a little bit of working room in here. This thing is filthy. Filthy! It's disgusting, because this should be yellow. All that's supposed to be yellow. Look at that. So I'm gonna have to be doing some deep sea cleaning on this bad boy. So, because I can't stand to have it look like this. I'm not like total cleanliness, but this is embarrassing for this poor car to be looking like this. So I'm gonna get that one out of there. That'll take our EVAP canister out. Hopefully I don't lose that bolt in the back there. And there's our bolt there. And then of course this is just another bracket down here, so I'm probably gonna go ahead and take that one out too so that I can get to it. Sorry guys, I had the camera in the wrong spot. So I'm gonna leave this sitting right here for just the moment. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take this bracket out on here so I can get all the way down in there. And that one has obviously never been out of there before. And all right, so now we can get down in here, take a look. And there's the base for the air cleaner housing. Ooh, it's filthy. Okay. All right. For right now, I'm just going to throw those nuts back in there. I know bag and tag on the bolts is a good technique to use. Personally, when I can, I just like to put the nuts back in the sub-assembly again. You know what? Did I mess that up? Okay, that just drills straight down through there. Huh. Okay, sorry for talking to myself, guys, while I'm doing this. This is kind of a new experience for me because I don't normally dig through F-bodies this deep. And then here, what we're going to do to get this piece out of the way is we're going to grab our connector. This is the solenoid that operates this EVAP canister. And get that out of the way. Grab my needle nose, long needle nose, and get these out. Now this EVAP canister, if you're not familiar, this is simply here to recirculate the fumes from the gas tank back through the system. This is a charcoal canister is what this is. And what this does is an activated charcoal which disperses the gas fumes. So it's, you know, serves a purpose. Now real quick, okay, so we've already gotten to the point here in probably less than 10 minutes, close to it. We've got everything out of our way right here, okay? What I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna worry about that later. So I'm gonna get in the weeds trying to get that out of there. I'm gonna work on the throttle body next. So what we got left is throttle body, center plenum, and rear plenum. Pardon me, rear distributor cover. So real quick, just so you guys notice, these connectors get really brittle with age. So be careful when you're pulling these off because you don't want them to get damaged. Now they do make replacement sections for these, but they're really easy to damage if you're not careful. So the one I just connected there, that was the throttle position sensor. Don't take these out here unless you've got a scan tool to be able to figure out the angle that it needs to go tab by. This actually helps tell the computer what angle your throttle's at. So it tells the computer how much airflow, or I'm sorry, how to set the ignition and fuel curves for it as part of that system. And then down here we've got, I think my connector's on the back side on this one. Yeah, we've got the idle air control motor. I'm gonna wait on that one for a second. This here is a bypass, actually part of the PCV system. So we're gonna slowly pull this one out of the way. Again, being careful not to try to damage it. And of course, this is another one of the vacuum tubes that I probably, oh yeah, that goes to, on the Camaro and Firebirds, this must go over to the exhaust gas recirculation, the canister there. So I'm gonna go ahead and wedge that out of the way. Get that out of there, all right. That can go to the side. I need to replace that connector anyway. And then this connector, if I'm remembering, it's on the bottom side, the keeper, there we go. So then there's our IAC out of the way. So that's everything on that side that needs to come out of the way. Now to go to the other side, trying to remember if I need any special tools for this. No, I don't think so. So this is gonna be our throttle cable right here. Yeah, throttle cable. This clip here gets pulled, come down a little bit, and then come up, and that comes right off. It will snap away from you if you're not careful, and I just put that right back on there again so I don't lose it. And then this one here is the same thing. In fact, let me turn the camera off so I don't lose this when it comes off. So you see on the back side, that's where that clip is right there. So I'll be right back, okay? All right, we got our clip off here on that back side and back installed. One other thing that is on a lot of these tune ports, and if it still hasn't been removed, if the car is original like this one, this is actually a bypass for coolant that goes in there and warms up the throttle body when it's cold. Now I went ahead and took that loose, but here in Texas in this warm environment, we don't usually need that. So I will probably hook it back up again just because I like original. But again, you can see here, there's one bolt here, one bolt here, one bolt there, and one bolt there, and that's going to take our entire front throttle body off. And you can see the way that opens up, those throttle blades open. That's what lets your airflow into your motor. And of course, there's a bypass. The idle circuit is right down there, that little hole. That's actually all how it's pulling air in when you've got it at idle. So let's go ahead, pull this off. And I'm going to pull that off there. So I like to get the bottom bolts out first. And there's 2. And there's 3. And there's 4. And you'll see our throttle body comes right off. Now I've also got the inlet pipe side of where that coolant comes through. So I'm going to take that off real quick. And when we get to that there, that one will come loose for us. Again, this is kind of just like a giant jigsaw puzzle, guys. So it's one of those things where it doesn't require anything more than basic hand tools, but without these memories of where everything goes, you can kind of get lost in this. Let's see if it'll pull off of there if it's stuck. All right, there we go. So there's our throttle body off. That's what the throttle body looks like in one piece. You can see there again, throttle blades open. There's a backside, there's our gasket, which is so you can see how dried up that is. That's what we'll be changing as well. So I'm gonna put that over on the side. So give me a second to get set up for the center plenum. I'll be right back. Okay, back again with our tools set up like we needed to. Got a few of these bolts pre-loosened and these cables out of the way. Which one I can see I forgot. Before I went back on camera here. Let me see if I can do this one-handed here. That's actually our TV cable right there. Let's see if I can get that. And these basically are just a pressure slot. Keeps these in place. There we go. That one's loose. Okay, so I went ahead and loosened these brackets up here. This bracket that holds in your accelerator cable and your cruise control cable and your TV cable, but I don't really need that off of there. I just loosened them up. Then I went ahead and pre-loosened these bolts because some Poindexter at one point put all the wrong hardware on this driver's side tube, which in turn stripped out the threads in the center plenum. And I remember when I got the car, I played around with it and realized I didn't want to go any deeper at first, simply because I was going to have to change the center plenum out to another one rather than bother to try to rethread it. So these are going in the trash. You can see that where they just, I don't know if you saw the material come out of there as I did that. So in addition to my annoyance at using wrong fasteners, it's just a pet peeve of mine being an old guy, you can actually mess stuff up not using the correct fasteners. So just be careful with what you're doing. You know, don't bubba the car to get it back together. Be patient with it. Especially a system that's built as complex as this one is. So we got those out, and then of course inexplicably they use one 10mm in the middle of all of it. I got a 1/2 inch for the rest of them, and then a 10mm, which go figure. And then that one on the bottom there, in between the tubes, kind of hidden. So each side has 4 bolts essentially. So we've got this one out. All those are headed for this trash. And I'm going to go ahead, I loosen these up already. So your distributor cover on the 3rd gens is a plastic cover, and on the Corvettes is a magnesium cover, metal for some odd reason. Still haven't figured that one out yet, why they did that, unless it was just packaging or cheaper to make them this way. I don't know. I don't really know if it was a heat thing or what they decided, what reason they decided to do that. So your distributor, of course I was missing one of them, so that made it easier for me. So there's our distributor cover off, and then you can see our distributor. And what I'm going to do here is get to the final side, on the passenger side. Let me just screw those back in there for a second so I know where they're at. And then I'm going to go ahead and take out the driver's side, which actually has the correct fasteners in it, which are T30s. Get these out of here. And one other interesting thing for you guys, trivia-wise, when you're doing this, make sure you see which bolts are going where, because guess what? They all have different lengths. So if you put the wrong one in the wrong slot, you'll bottom it out. Now, not these in particular, but some of the other ones. Let me get this one out. Okay, we got those out of there. And there's those vacuum ports that we talked about in my video I did last week for you guys. So we're gonna go and pull those out of the way and pull that back one out of the way. And Here we go. Our plenum is loose, my friends. So I'm going to come up gently because underneath here, there is a couple of connections that we need to take care of. Just one, actually. This would be our... I want to say that's the EGR time switch. I can't remember. They've already repaired this one. Like I said, they've been into this manifold before. Did a pretty piss poor job with it. And then of course this, another vacuum port back here, which goes straight to your brake booster, which honestly should not be that loose. Good Lord, man. Anyway, I'm not gonna sound like an old cranky mechanic here. So, there is our center plenum out. So, there's all those pieces we just talked about removed from the car. And you can see what we're left with is all the stuff that we need to access next time in our next episode. So, next episode, what I'm going to be working on, guys, are our lower runners here on each side. 1, 2. I'm going to get the fuel rails out of here, which is this entire assembly connected to fuel injectors. That's all one assembly. We're going to take our distributor out. Let me see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I may go ahead and just split this up into passenger side rail, driver's side, fuel injector assembly, and then what I'll do for the third video, I'll save for distributor and lower intake, because we're going to go ahead and change the lower intake on this too and change the gaskets since they're all trashed anyway. So, but just as an aside, so you can see some of these hidden bolts I was talking about, you know, there's actually a bolt from the back side on these runners that if you're not looking for it, you won't know where it's at. And on this one, it's right there, right back there in between the distributor. But I may have to take the distributor out first to get to that one. We'll see. So anyway, that's going to wrap me up for today. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you want to see me do the rest of this over the course of the next few weeks as I get this done. I do appreciate you hanging out to the end, guys, and I'll be back with you tomorrow with some more goodies. Talk to you then.